You are listening to Bedtime Dreamy Tales. Please make sure you have smashed that like button and subscribe to our channel for new story. Story title, The Griffin. Once upon a time, there was a king whose kingdom's location and name have faded from memory. The king, having no sons, cherished his only daughter, who was often ill and no physician could cure her. A soothsayer advised that only by eating an apple would she regain her health. Determined, the king declared that whoever cured his daughter with an apple would marry her and inherit the throne. In a nearby village lived a couple with 3 sons. Upon hearing of the king's decree, the father suggested to his eldest son, "Go, pick a basket of the finest red apples and take them to the palace. If the princess recovers, you shall marry her and become king." The young man, named Birdly, did as told and set off on his journey, encountering a mysterious, white-bearded dwarf who asked him what he carried. "Frog legs," Birdly jestingly replied. The dwarf muttered a curse, ensuring that the basket would contain nothing but frog legs, and vanished. Arriving at the palace, Birdly was horrified to discover his basket full of wriggling frog legs instead of apples. Furious, the king banished him from the palace. Back home, Birdly recounted his tale. The second son, Seymour, decided to try his luck but encountered the same dwarf and made the same mistake by answering pig bristles to the dwarf's query. As before, the dwarf cursed the basket to contain exactly that. At the palace, when Seymour presented his gift, it was full of pig bristles. The king, even more enraged, had Seymour whipped and expelled. Now it was Hans, the youngest and considered the fool of the family, who asked his father's permission to try. Despite his father's doubts and ridicule, Hans was adamant. His father, resigned, let him go, expecting nothing but failure. The following day, Hans met the dwarf, who inquired about the basket's contents. Hans sincerely replied, "Apples for the princess's health." Impressed by his honesty, the dwarf blessed the apples to remain as such. At the palace, Hans's basket was hesitantly inspected, but, to everyone's delight, was found to contain golden apples. The princess ate them and instantly recovered, leaping out of bed in perfect health. The king was overjoyed but hesitant to fulfill his promise. He challenged Hans to build a ship that could sail on dry land. Hans, undeterred, went to the forest, where he again met the dwarf who helped him build a magnificent land sailing ship. As Hans sailed the ship to the palace, the king set forth another challenge. Hans must herd 100 rabbits without losing a single one from dawn till dusk. Hans managed the rabbits with the help of a magical flute given by the dwarf, which would call back any rabbit that strayed. When the princess herself came to request a rabbit under the guise of a maid, Hans cleverly used the flute to ensure no rabbits were lost. Finally, the king demanded a feather from the tail of the mythical griffin. Hans journeyed to the griffin's den, tricking it in retrieving a feather, while also solving the problems of those he met along the way with wisdom gained from the griffin's wife. Upon his return, the king, greedy for more of the griffin's treasures, tried to replicate Hans's journey but met his demise at the river, where he was thrown into the water by the ferryman. Fulfilling the griffin's cryptic advice, Hans married the princess and became a wise and beloved king, ruling with kindness and often recounting the tales of his adventures and the mysterious dwarf who had changed his fate. Under his rule, the kingdom flourished, and the story of Hans, the griffin, and the dwarf was told for generations as a testament to honesty, courage, and the magic of believing in oneself. If you like this story, please give this video a like and comment below with your thoughts. See you in the next story.